Hi, welcome to Diamond Custom Paint Shop. In this episode, we'll be doing a little bit more work on these Indian parts I've been painting. On this episode, we're going to be doing some rivets on these metal panels. So we'll be putting some rivets in these corners of these, kind of some semi-realistic rivets. Some of the material I'm going to be using in this video, we're going to be using some candy black, to kind of fade in these rivets. And then we're going to be using some white base coat. And I'll be using Limelight products here. The candy black is really awesome. If you haven't used it, go ahead and pick up a can of that. In this bottle, I just have some of this candy black already mixed up with the clear base coat. And then I have some urethane reducer here because I am going to be spraying these out of an airbrush, and it needs to be pretty thinned out for the effects that we're doing with the shadowing and whatnot. So, and also we're going to be using a Wada Takumi airbrush, and then also Hutter and Steinbeck. I like to run two airbrushes when I'm doing this because I'll have a black and a white, so I can kind of do them all at the same time. I don't have to go, do all the black parts and then come back and do the white. I can kind of do one rivet at a time and get it done. So, and then we'll be using this stencil here. This is going to be the size here that I'll be using. I have it taped out, so when you spray on there, you'll see in the video here when I demonstrate this. But yeah, I have it all taped out, so only that hole there is open. As you can see on the back here, there's a bunch of holes there next to it. And so that's the negative, and then I'll be using this right here, this one, the positive, to do the other parts of the rivet. So I'll kind of cut this video and we'll set up overhead, and I'll kind of demonstrate it on a kind of a piece of paper first, kind of how to do these, the step-by-step, how to do the rivets. And then I'll just shoot a little bit of video of me doing a few of them on this. It's going to take a while for me to do all these panels, so I'm just going to videotape me doing a few of them. And then at the end, we'll just come back when they're all done and probably clear coated. I'll wait till I clear coat it to do the ending to this, and you'll get to see them what they look like clear coated. And then, yeah, that'll wrap it up. So, all right, well, stay tuned and we'll be right back. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to use this paper with some red on it so we can get I can show you the effect with the white on it. We'll do a couple practice ones on here, and then we'll move to the actual part. But I'll kind of explain to you step by step how I go about doing these. One thing to caution you about or let you know about is when you're doing a whole bunch of these at a time, be conscious of paint getting built up on these stencils, because what will happen, it'll get kind of built up and get wet if you're moving along pretty good, and you'll go to set it down and move it off or something, and it'll smear on your part. So just make sure that's pretty dry every time you move it to the next one. Same with this one here, your positive. It'll get gooped up, and then you'll put it on there and spray and then take it off, and it'll kind of smear because it'll be all soaking wet with paint around the edge. So just be conscious of that. Clean them off every once in a while. Get a rag and kind of wipe them off if you need to, or you can you can just use some reducer on a rag and it'll clean up off there. It won't hurt the stencil. So yeah, just a couple of tips there. So let's get started. We'll start with the black, and we're going to start with our negative. So we'll set that down, and we get our brush here with the black in it. I'm going to do a little test here. Okay. So what we're going to do is, we know the light's coming from this direction. Okay. So it's coming from that direction. So we're going to want the highlighted spots on the top and the darker on the bottom, kind of on the rivet. So first we're going to go a little bit heavier around the bottom, and just barely, if even, just let the overspray kind of hit the top side. I'm going to hit that bottom, just barely swing around the top, just like that. And we'll dry it up a little bit. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the positive We're going to put it on there, and then we're going to hit the top edge, and you can kind of come around the side a little bit. One thing to caution you is your angle. Be careful your angle because you don't want it to kind of separate from there. And I'll kind of show you that on another one, what can happen. If it does a little bit, it's kind of part of the effect. It doesn't, but if it does it like quite a bit, then you can kind of see it was, maybe a mistake or doesn't look right. So we're just going to aim for the top. Just slowly fade it, kind of come around the sides. Okay, so there we got the top. And then we're going to let me show you one. Before we go to the white, let me show you what I was talking about when you do that positive. So we'll do another here like this. Okay, then when you're doing your positive, let's say I'm over here at this kind of angle. And I hit this around top. It actually did it on this side. You can see that little gap right there. Let me make it a little more extreme so you can see it. It's not a big deal. It doesn't really happen a lot, but if you're not paying attention, and you're on a good angle or something, because what it does is it skips off that edge, and it doesn't go right down on the thing. So there you can see it kind of goes on there, but if it does it a little bit, it's not bad because that kind of adds to the effect a little bit. What you don't want it to happen is to cut into the roundness is what it can sometimes happen. It kind of started to do a little bit here. But if you do it, you'll know what I mean. But yeah, these actually look pretty good because that kind of adds to the effect of it. But what I'm talking about is if it starts to kind of cut into your rivet up, then it doesn't look quite right. So, all right, let's switch to the white, and we'll do the white side. I'll use my hardened Steinbeck for this one with my custom trigger. Just test the white, get the white going a little bit. Okay, so we're going to put this over it again like this. And then on this, I'm just going to do a highlight, kind of a dot, kind of like, just like that in the top there. Or whichever, since the light's coming here, it'll kind of be over to the side a little bit maybe. That one kind of got messed up because that was my fault. I lit off the trigger and then it loaded up paint in there and it spurted. So let's do this one here. There we go. So like that. Do this one. There we go. And then we're going to take the positive again. And we're going to come and hold that over top of it again. And then we're just going to hit the bottom side. And just come around the sides a little bit. Okay, like that. And then you can always, if it doesn't look like you want it, you can always put it back over. And then kind of do it some more. There we go. Now what I would do when I'm doing the part, I would actually be on this side and spray that way when I do it. Kind of move the part around. But for this demonstration, I'm just kind of getting my hand over there and trying to spray this way. But you want to get yourself in a good position. There we go. And there you go. And that's how you do them. Some people do it where they do the circle and then they'll freehand these. You can come out a little bit and do some freehand that shadow. I don't know if I need to thin this out a little more, but they kind of go like that and freehand that instead. But I like to do it with the stencil. But you can do a freehand with it if you want. And you can gives it different effects because then you can actually pull it off there a little bit. So it's up to you. You kind of play around with them and see what looks best for you. I'm going to review this video real quick, and if this angle you can't see it, I'll do a couple of it showing this way. So just to make sure you can see exactly what I'm doing with these. Okay, let's do a couple of these at this angle here, just so you can see, make sure you can see how I'm doing this. Coming down, dark around the bottom, and then just barely coming up around the top. Really hitting the bottom, and barely coming around the top. Now on these two, if you want it darker, you can actually, freehand a little dot in there. This paper here is just kind of soaking it up, so it doesn't look as right, but you can do another one here. So you can just do like a heavier dot. Doesn't quite look like the effect we're going for without the bottom shaded. So really want that bottom kind of shaded up. There you go. So there you can see it's got like a little heavier shadow from the back side of that rivet. So yeah, just play around with it and however you like your rivets to look. But this is just the basics to get you started. And we'll use this positive. Kind of same thing, heavier on the top, and then drip, make your way around the sides real light. Okay. See there, that one really that's what I'm talking about right there, that separation right there. Because this angle is really extreme angle I'm spraying this at across that stencil here. So I can see this one here doesn't look too bad. It kind of adds to the, like it looks like it's part of the indentation there. So you probably, if you do it, you probably fix it just by coming back at this angle. Kind of. Still going to be there no matter what you do, but okay, then we'll switch to the white. So I'd probably do is, do an area, a few of them with the black and then switch to your white. I do need to, for this airbrush, probably thin this out a little bit more, this white, but this trigger is a lot different than on the Iwata. The Iwata is like almost instant, and this one takes a little bit of, pulling back. So let's see, we're going to go with the positive. So when I do my actual project, I'll probably put a piece of tape on the project somewhere so I can do my practice sprays first and then know where my trigger action is, and then go ahead and do it on that since it's a customer's part. So you want it to be as good as it can be. I'm just going to do like a fade in the dot there, the top. Go to the positive. Maybe. When the trigger's not where you expect it to be, you get a little shy. So you don't want the blast of paint out when you're switching from different airbrushes. Once like this, it's not bad. If you're using this all the time, you know exactly where it's at. But when you go from one to the next, like that Iwata is really responsive versus this one where, right when you pull the trigger back, the paint's not there. Maybe if I thin this white out, it probably would be, which I'll probably end up doing. Thin it out a little bit more so I can get a little more control. Yeah, I'm just trying to, a little gun shy of where that's at. All right, there we go. Oh, I didn't do the whites on these. There we go. Okay, well, we're gonna come back. We'll get set up to do it on the actual part, and we'll do a couple on there for the video, and yeah, there you go. And then you know how to do rivets. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward. It does take a little bit of practice, you know, to make them look the best they can, to get the fading right how you want it around. So yeah. Okay, first thing I did, I went around and put little tiny marks where my rivet center is going to go, because what can happen is you can't see like your edges around this, so you want to make sure, like when you hold this up, if you do it in the wrong spot, you can't tell really where that is, so you don't want to make them all goofy and all different. So I kind of did the spacing as equally as I could, so I know where the center is. I just did it with a Stabilo pencil. And I'll probably actually wipe these off a little lighter when I get to each one of them. I don't think it'll show through because there's black and I'm going to be putting black on it. So yeah, anyways, how I kind of did it was, so I took this little stirring stick I have that I use, for coffee stirs, but I use them, I get them to stir my paints up with. But anyway, so I kind of went here and I put this on the center of that, and I marked what the outer edge of the rivet is, and then kind of the outer edge of what my shadow is going to be at. And so what I did is I went and took this piece of tape, and as you can see, I marked that, put that in the center, marked the center, then put these lines to where my side shadow is going to be, and then I marked the center off this edge right here. That's why I put the arrow. That means that this edge is what I measured off of for that center. So, and then I just took my little X-Acto knife and cut out a little hole there. And then what I did was just kind of, then you can line these up. So this edge is the edge I marked off, and I want to go off this edge. So I turned it this way so the arrow is pointing towards that. And this is on an angle, so I just kind of put it at this corner, because this will show you, this is the total edge, your shadow right here. So you can kind of gauge a little bit better with this tape than you can with that stencil. So then I just put a little, little mark through there, kind of went along the whole thing, and did that. That way everything looks a little better and more uniform when you're done. All right, so let's get the painting a couple of these on here. And these are, this Stabilo pencil is water soluble, so you can just stick your finger a little bit, you just kind of wipe at that so you can barely see it. Okay, so on this part, it's going to be, the motorcycle is going to be sitting up like this, so my light's going to be coming from kind of this direction right here, we'll just say. So that's our direction. So you want to remember that whenever you're doing these, because you'll get at different angles here. But even like when we're over here, we're still going to have that light coming from the top. Okay, there we go. I'll probably blow a little air on these after I'm painting before I lift my stencils to get some buildup on there. Like I said, you don't want the streak off. Looks like we may do just a little. The silver is a little bit harder to get the black coverage than that piece of paper was, so it's not going to be, quite as fast. You have to kind of build up lightly what you want. There you go. Okay, there we go. We'll just kind of move along over here, do our black. Okay.
Okay, well there's the rivets. As you can see, they turned out pretty good. We had a lot of practice because there's a lot of them on the two pieces and the front fender. So, but yeah, just to recap on how we did these rivets, is pretty easy as you saw. It just takes a little bit of practice and kind of mess around with it to, you know, see with the shading how you like them to look. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Another thing that I did on another project was after I did the white here, I just took some blue, really reduced blue, just so it was, you know, I could fade it really light, the blue, and just kind of put it at the top of the white. So that made it look like, you know, a reflection of a blue sky. And that turns out pretty cool too. So like I said, go ahead and experiment. This is just kind of the basics of, you know, how to do these rivets. And then you can take this and do them exactly the same, or you can change it around a little bit. Like I said, I've done them different ways, but this is kind of the staple way to start with them, and then you can mess around with them from there. And like I said, we just used, just get you one of these stencils, get you one where it has the circles, and then it has, you know, the negative and then the matching positive to that, so you can cover up and do your shading on both sides of your rivets. But that's about it. You know, I used lime line. Black base coat and white base coat is all I did, but it's really reduced down. It's probably like 70-30, 70% reducer, 30% of the paint, maybe even more than that. Some just all depends, but because you really want to spray really light out of your airbrush, you know, when you're doing these fades, you don't want the pile on, so you build it up slowly. So as you can kind of see, I did in the video. So yeah, that's these. This project's about done. Got the stripe on here like he wanted, the shark face and the rivets in the metal, and then he wanted the Indian logo on here. So yeah, it turned out pretty good. I already showed him pictures of it. He's pretty happy with it so far. So only thing we have left on this to do is to scuff this down
and do one more session of clear coat on it, and then we can cut and buff it, and yeah, it'll be done. So yeah, the only thing, yeah, I already did all the, I usually take a day to do, you know, any touch up or shading that I want to do, and I did that after I did the rivets. I went ahead and did some shading here. I don't know if it comes across in the video, but you know, below the lips there to kind of give that some depth, the teeth there. I did some shading on the teeth to kind of make them, you know, be a little more 3D-ish. I don't know if it comes across in the video. I'll do some close pass-bys to add to this video, but yeah. So that's it. So go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you're not a subscriber already. That really helps me out. And go ahead and check down the link in the description for any of the Limeline products used on this project. I used his new rattle can base coats, which worked awesome. I used a black and then I used a silver base, you know, in the rattle can base coats, and I think those are probably out. I haven't checked the site, but I know if they're not out yet, they'll be out really soon. So go ahead and check that out. If you click on the link below, you'll get 10% off any of the products on Limeline. So go ahead and check that out, buy some stuff. Helps me out, helps Limeline out, helps you out, because it's a really good product for a reasonable price. So, and that takes us to, I'll see you on the next one.